to introduce to you a fellow colleague, in this case, the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the College of Graduate Studies. So Dr. Susan Pocotte, who is an Associate Professor of Nursing, assists me in so many ways I couldn't begin to tell you. And one of the important things she's going to talk to you about today is how important academic integrity is. Now, I know that most of you have already done the academic integrity module on the online orientation, along with the other two supplemental modules that are mandatory. And if you haven't done those, please do them as soon as possible, because we track it down, and if you haven't done it, we have to track you down so that you complete them, because it's a requirement of our university that you complete those. So today she'll be giving you some more information about academic integrity and what constitutes academic dishonesty. As professionals, we take our ethics and our professionalism very, very seriously.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. This is always actually my favorite time of the year because, just like you, I'm spending this week getting ready for my class teaching experiences starting Monday, just as you are. And even though I've been doing this for a few years, every fall is like a new beginning. And so many of you that are coming in out of having just graduated from a master's program or a baccalaureate program, wherever you are in your journey, this is a new beginning for you as both a student and also as a new educator or a returning educator. So what I'm going to try and do for just a few minutes is give you some practical hints as well as some policy references with the purpose of improving the quality of your experience this semester and ongoing throughout the academic year or years if you're going to be here with us for a while, and also to maybe help keep you and your students out of trouble. So what I want to do to accomplish that goal is to talk to you about what is the academic integrity about, what is dishonesty, how would you prepare for your course? In addition to what you've already heard this morning from the previous presenters, there's some other tips that are more practical and policy aligned that you might want to consider before you start on next week. And then what should we do if a violation of dishonesty occurs? I want to talk to you just a little bit about confidentiality, because that's actually tied into integrity, and then give you hopefully a little motivation for how you can use this whole experience this semester to continuously improve yourself for future career goals. As Dr. Kamenicki mentioned, we have an online module that we're requiring you to review. And if you haven't done that already, please do this as soon as possible, maybe this evening, this afternoon. It is very well put together. So please review that. It goes into much more detail than I am going to do. I kind of want to take off from where our previous presenters left off. Joan and Eric talked to you about our mission. They talked about culture and core values, diversity, inclusivity, civility, all those terminologies that they went through feeds perfect into the beginning of what is academic integrity, such that we can preserve that and prevent actions of dishonesty. We actually begin with the core values of the University of Toledo, those agreed upon standards that are our ethics, that inform our behaviors. How do we act? Do we cheat? Do we tell the truth? Do we show respect? Those behaviors inform the culture. Now, when they used the word culture just a few moments ago, the culture that they were referring to includes the action of academic integrity. Taken together, the culture that includes academic integrity improves the value of the bachelor's degree, the master's, the doctoral, the practice doctorate. Altogether, it informs our ability to achieve the mission, as they presented today, of the University of Toledo, and the vision that this university aspires to be in terms of quality outcomes for our students, our faculty, our staff, and the whole community of Toledo, Ohio, United States, and the world. Today, you're in an odd position. Today you're in the teacher hat in your head as you are evolving to become a teaching assistant, but you also know that within the same day, within the same week of upcoming year, you're going to be switching from student to teacher, student to teacher. So I want to give you a little motivation to think about your responsibility as the teaching assistant, the person standing up, and start to get you started on a vision of leadership. You will be a leader in the education mission of this university. It's a very important and a highly respected and valued role that many of us are passionate about, and I hope that some of that passion will stick with you today, or that you'll embrace that as you move forward. It's going to be difficult for you. Many of your students are going in your laboratory sessions, in your study groups, in your classroom, depending on what role you have and as a TA, are going to be very close to your age. I know several of you just graduated in May. So that, keep in mind and be gentle on yourself, but you're going to have to kind of cross into some levels of discomfort to show a little bit of professionalism immediately, even though it's not something you're used to do. You're going to have to provide clear and firm expectations to your students. You have to be the keeper and the implementer of policies and procedures. But as you got the sense from the previous presentation, it's not just to the people that you're comfortable talking to, it's equally to all of your students. That's a big, big chore, a big, big task to accomplish. A lot of what you're going to then do is transition and be a graduate student in your own courses. So we're hoping that the behavior of your leadership role will actually continue as you become a student. Another responsibility of a teaching assistant is to know what is academic dishonesty. First of all, the University of Toledo has zero tolerance. What that means is no cheating, no plagiarism, no damaging laboratory equipment, no sabotaging other people's experiments, etc., etc. We don't tolerate it. It's totally unacceptable. It's a violation of the Student Code of Conduct for everyone, undergraduate and graduate. And the consequences of an action of academic dishonesty range from failure of that assignment, failure of a course, or complete dismissal from the university. So you can see immediately how serious this is. I'm not trying to put a damper and make you afraid to become a teaching assistant, but I'm trying to impress upon you the level of responsibility as you, the leader, monitoring the integrity of the academic experience for your students, and then today recognizing that academic dishonesty, what it is, and how to handle it. One of the things that gets very tricky when it comes to dishonesty is students will tell you, well, I didn't mean to copy all of that stuff off the website. It just sort of happened when my mouse cursor or my finger on the pad just kind of shaded that, and oopsie, I hit copy, and oopsie, I hit paste. I didn't know I did that. And then they say, but I didn't mean to. It was just part of my study. I meant to just put that aside and then write a paper off of it. I hear it all the time. And but I hold my students accountable, and I say, all right, then what we're going to do is assume you had good intention and that you didn't mean to do it, but I'm still not going to grade this paper. You're going to either fail it and then complete the rest of the assignments or redo it. It depends on the nature of the class and how your faculty advisor has set things up. Intentional are clearly those that actually are in a hurry, last minute, and they did deliberately copy or whatever. So it's difficult for you to put you as the educator in the situation of, well, is it intentional, is it unintentional? Well, guess what? They both count equally in terms of the consequences, so you don't even have to worry about determining which it is. They are both severe in their repercussions. You need to set things up in your classroom to discourage and prevent dishonesty of the students in your class. And also remember, you're also in other classrooms in graduate school. It'll happen in graduate classes, so of your peers in your own classrooms as well. You have some control, you and your faculty advisor, who is the person that is going to be signing off on grades for your courses and laboratory groups, to work together to use some approved strategies to evaluate student work for cheating and plagiarism and apply those strategies equally to all. Unfortunately, it's not just your good intentions to prevent it, you also have to report it. So the reporting of actions have to go on. Minimally, you report to your faculty. The faculty sometimes has to report through the administration chain of command. So there are things that you can do. First of all, I'm going to prepare for you some web links. And I am going to fly right through them. We're not going to click on the web links in my slides, but I assure you that the web links that I have in today's presentation, later today when the evaluation for today's orientation is sent out, there will also be an attachment that has a one page of the links that you can use to accomplish your preparation before the course begins. If you haven't already, meet with the faculty of record. That's the person who you are working with. I hope you've met that person already. If not, please find them and make an appointment. And if they're a little bit unresponsive, call me and I'll help you get that relationship off and running. That faculty should have a plan in place to help you with what is the plan if academic dishonesty occurs. You, as the teaching assistant, with some of these policies that I'm going to show exist, I would suggest that you either create an electronic folder on your iPad or whatever electronic device you used, read them, have them at hand to refer to, or if you like paper, make a 3-ring binder and carry them around with you. You heard a little bit about reference to a course syllabus. There needs to be procedures regarding academic honesty, dishonesty placed in that syllabus. How you accomplish that is an agreement between you and that course faculty of record. But something needs to go on there. Why? The course syllabus needs to be clear regarding the grading policy, and that if caught cheating, bad things can happen for that student. The other thing that you need to be aware of are a lot of other pieces of information that your students are going to read. Students are taught about you can't cheat and what happens if you do cheat. They're taught about academic code of conduct. They're in their orientations. So you want to review for whatever program you're going to be teaching in the undergraduate student handbook for that program. For that college, they might have a separate program handbook, or it might be for a program. It depends on where you're at. The College of Graduate Studies has a student handbook. And yes, you're not necessarily teaching graduate students right away, but you need to read that handbook and see how really, as a community of learners, graduate and undergraduate are supposed to abide by very similar policies. The individual, as I said, the course syllabus, and then academic policies. So these are a list of a couple slides of policies that I want you to collect, look at and read, and this is what I meant will be sent to you in an email later today. But you can see there's tons of policies, codes of conduct, both for general student population, focused for the undergraduate. The undergraduate has lots of stuff about if they want to do a grievance, missed class policy, grades, etc. Very interesting reading. If you are having trouble going to sleep one night, a little bit stressed, pull some of these out and read them. You'll be accomplishing two things. You'll get a little sleepy, and you'll also be ready to teach your class. College of Graduate Studies has similar things that you need to know about because, number one, you're all here as graduate students, so you can accomplish two separate goals, but we have some that are very helpful for you as well. We also have some research misconduct issues. Many of you are going to be in laboratory settings, either as the researcher or as the TA. And so it's not just about writing a paper, it's about the activity of how you conduct one's exploration in the laboratory environment, and that's where integrity needs to be preserved as well. So what do? How do we prevent our students from committing acts of academic dishonesty, no matter where we are gathering, to have that teacher-learner relationship? First of all, you need to get a little bit back into the mindset of a student. You are one, but also put yourself into the mindset of the student in your class. There's a lot of literature on why students plagiarize. That means why do they cheat or copy. Most of them actually very sincerely will say, I don't know what it is. Part of that is because around the world, in the United States, other countries, cheating has been going on forever since there's been teachers and students trying to have a relationship. And so, yes, some students have generated behaviors that nobody ever told them was bad. So we need to set standards immediately from day one in your class. The changes in technology with all of the digital age, that is just, and how quickly things can move around through whatever social media or old-fashioned emails or however we move information around. It is so easy now for a large number of people to get access to fabulous information and accidentally copy it, use it, turn it in for a grade, and forget, oopsie, I forgot to put down who originally wrote it. I've actually had students come to me and say, I bought the book. It cost me $200 for your class. So therefore, I bought the book. Why can't I just copy what that person said? If I bought it, I own it, right? Therefore, I can copy it? No, you still have to put the reference in or paraphrase. Taking shortcuts, poor time management, pressure. This happens to graduate students. They've never cheated before. Graduate school is hard, so they start cheating when they didn't do it in undergraduate. Undergraduates, it's harder compared to high school in many cases. They're afraid. There's a lot of pressure to succeed. A lot of the students are just flat out afraid to ask you for help. So you need to kind of get a sense of the students. Maybe you're shy. I'm shy. It's hard for me to walk up and say, do you need my help today? I saw that you were kind of flipping between pages. So please try and get engaged with your students, create the relationship, and maybe they'll just simply call you instead of copying something. The faculty and TA need to be the example. You need to think about some of the things that Dr. Schreiner talked about to create a dynamic and scholarly learning environment, no matter what that environment is. The more exciting and dynamic it is and the more engaged the student is, the less tempting they are to cheat because they don't need to because they're already learning. Again, we can't say it enough. I've said it a couple times already. You heard a 45-minute presentation just before me. Respect for your peers, for your students, treating everyone equal and abiding by the core values. That's where it begins. If that is part of who each and every one of us are, the act of cheating is never in our brains. There's some other resources that you need to be aware of to prevent, and that is we have tutoring available, we have Writing Center, we have the library system with tons of information. Ask me or your faculty of record how to engage our students with resources to help them in their academic journey. We have a lot of technology available to you. In fact, if you saw some handouts, there was about 3 handouts from the Learning Ventures program. That is the group that oversees our Blackboard technology. Whether you're teaching online, face-to-face, all of you have a website in the Blackboard for your class activity. And so there was actually a little handbook handout that says Educational Technology. Look at that and ask around your faculty advisor about how to do online testing, the proctoring thing, safe assignment in Blackboard. There are tools available to engage the students to do testing on or submit assignments that are neutral, that actually minimize the cheating and help detect it. So please avail yourself of these opportunities. Also, when you design some questions, if you're going to be participating in writing test questions, and many of you have experienced this as a student already, if you have multiple exam versions, like an A, B, C version, and people are sitting jam-packed in a lecture hall, there's less tendency to cheat because if they look to the left and the right, and the number one question that's going to be different text for both, or if it's a multiple choice question, mix up the ABC options, etc. I use plagiarism tutorials in both my online and my web assist classes, and we can provide information to you about that. Dr. Schreiner the Teaching Learning Center would be able to connect you with plagiarism tutorials, where students actually go learn about what is plagiarism, how do you paraphrase, how do you direct quote, how do you write a reference page, and they sign a certificate that they turn into you that says, I now understand what cheating is. I understand unintentional and intentional are equal in terms of, if caught, I could be dismissed from a program, failed on a course, or failed on a assignment. And it's an accountability. So there's lots of things. Please have that conversation with your course faculty of record. So we hope that you're not going to have the unfortunate experience of discovering some act of dishonesty in your classroom or your laboratory. But just in case, if you've already prepared by reading the policies and you're familiar with what it is the expectations for your course is, there are a few things to do if the violation has been detected and it occurs. First of all and foremost, immediately notify the course faculty of record. I'm hoping that course faculty of record, if that person isn't going to be with you 100% of the time in your teaching learning environment, that person will have at least given you a phone number to call such that you can get a hold of them fairly quickly. You'll need to implement the policies and procedures that you and your faculty agreed upon should be implemented when something is discovered, because it's going to be different whether you're a classroom, laboratory, etc., and what your role is in that particular class. No matter what, even if you haven't talked to your faculty advisor yet, document, whether you type it on your computer or write it on a scrap paper, for your own personal notes. Immediately write down what happened, what the names are, what times, etc., the nature of it. Put it away, hide it somewhere, so that you can go back to it as the investigation starts to unfold, so that you have a fresh, clear memory and that you won't be accused of making things up and lying about an action. Then you and the faculty, or you alone, it depends again on how it's going to roll with your faculty advisor, discuss and then the action with the student, and then document that conversation. And then a decision process will go for there. But again, you need to protect yourself as well. One example of integrity is how we handle information. So it's not quite cheating when we tell somebody else a social security number or an identification or a phone number of our student, but the concept of confidentiality is very important in the classroom with our student body. You might have already heard this. FERPA is how we say it. It stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's been around for several decades. Basically, it's a federal law in the United States to give students certain rights regarding confidentiality of their educational records. No big surprise here. We have policies about FERPA at the University of Toledo. In fact, we have an entire website that you can go to and look at a slide presentation and download all kinds of documents. These links will be on that handout to which I referred earlier that will be sent to you later today. This is hugely important because now this involves you as the teaching assistant. This is where your dishonesty begins and your career can end. And that is, you cannot release information about student IDs like a rocket number, social security number, grade points, grades, talk about the courses taken, their schedule to anyone. Not to your friends that you live with, not to your TAs that you're sharing an office with, unless they're in your same student cohort that you're teaching. Very, very serious consequences for the university and sometimes for the individual if caught intentionally or unintentionally sharing private information. In addition, I won't go through all the gory details, but maybe many of you have already done this if you've been a student somewhere, which you have, obviously. Students can actually check a box when they enroll in all of our classes that says, please treat my directory information confidential. So one of the things that many of you will have access to is we call it a roster or a class list of what the student names are that you're going to be responsible for this semester. And sometimes next to that list, the word confidential will be there. What that means is, if you want to send a mass email, even if it's through Rocket's email address, you can't send that mass email with everybody's email address in the, to line, the sent line. You should blind copy any mass emailing that you send to students. Because if you don't blind copy on an email or any other communication, you've now identified who are all the students on that big email to each other. And if they clicked confidential, that meant they didn't want anyone else to know they were in that class. Now, I know that sounds goofy. You're probably thinking, are you kidding me? What do you mean? How do you hide the fact you're in a class? Well, you as the teacher you can call them by a first name if you're face-to-face and you're having an assignment and you want everyone to talk to each other, but only that student can share what their Rocket email is or what other information like their last name and so forth with other students in their own class if they've clicked confidential. The other thing that will happen to some of you, and again, this is all on that big website for the FERPA website, so I'm only going to alert you to this, but all of our students many of our students, I should say, have parents. And what's going to happen, especially in the undergraduate, and it'll even happen in graduate with spouses, the spouse or the parent will call you, the teacher, and say, hey, how's Joey doing? How's Susie doing? What's the grade? Are they studying enough? Basically, long story short, you are not allowed to talk about the activity of the student in your class with their parent. Once they enter this university, no matter if they're 18 or younger, you cannot have that conversation about specific student information about their activity in your course unless the student signs a consent. And the students are told this. It doesn't mean you can't listen to the parent and go, yep, thank you, and have a nice day. But you can't share that. It's very, very tricky. So if that happens to you, please alert your faculty advisor immediately such that strategies and conversation with the student can occur to, if they want that parent to talk, then they need to get the consent form. So in general, there are some other tricks to avoid you losing your job as a TA, which would mean if you lost your TA position, that could have financial consequences because we wouldn't be able to continue paying you. I'm not trying to threaten you. I am trying to say that FERPA is a responsibility of me, you, students, staff, all alike, and we just simply can't violate these federal laws. So again, I already said you don't talk about their ID, never link their name with any assignment publicly. If you've graded a stack of papers, don't leave them outside your office for them to pick up because it's got names and grades on it. You can't really send grades to students by way of emails anymore unless they send you from their Rockets account or from within the Blackboard site. Don't send stuff to Gmail or on their Twitter account or whatever, their grades or information about their class, of their performance in the class. Also, when they come visit you, be careful what's laying in front of you. If you are in process of grading or you've got a computer screen with student names on it, just simply say, give me 5 seconds to clear my space and then welcome them in for that conversation. Again, no discussion with anybody else, other employees, etc. Just be really, really confidential. No public posting of grades. I think most of you have been in situations probably where that hasn't occurred for a while. So don't be tempted to put a sign outside your door with phone numbers and a grade. Don't do that. We have fabulous resources in our technology for you to put grades in, either through the MyUT grading portal or in the Blackboard course site. There's a grade book. Please become familiar with the technology and keep yourself out of trouble. And lastly, think about continually improving all semester, all next semester, next academic year, if we have the pleasure of having you continue your education with us, if you're staying for a couple years. Think about how you can continuously improve. You've learned so many topics today. All of us have said go to the website and look up for some more information. Don't panic and think you've got to do all of that in 5 minutes. But put a little sheet in your goal planner, wherever it is, if it's paper, if it's electronic, to think about what else do I want to look up? How can I build my skills to improve both my teaching and my confidence? Maybe you never want to teach again after you're done with education here, and that's okay. But just whatever you do as a leader in our university is going to help you in every goal that you have for your future profession. Be part of the development and the improvement of the culture of academic integrity. The more you strengthen your presentation skills, your talking casually skills, your writing skills, the more you do that and show the demonstration of talent to others, that will improve the whole culture and improve the human condition at the University of Toledo. We will have things for you as the graduate student, as the TA, to continually improve yourself and your skills throughout the academic year. Stay tuned for information that will be sent to you, and we do use your Rocket email account. So please check that out or learn how to forward that to whatever other account you use, because we have fabulous programming in our professional development programming through COGS. The libraries have wonderful aid sheets for you. The Writing Center is there also for you. But lastly, be courageous. Don't be fearful. Be a leader. Enjoy this. It's a fabulous journey, and good luck.